is up, everyone? Mr. Welch here, and this is episode number 6 of the LPSD Virtual College and Career Fair. And today we have a special opportunity to speak with two recruiters, two staff sergeant recruiters from the United States Army, who are going to talk to us about the Army, the process of going through to become an enlisted soldier, and then what it all entails. And they're going to answer and talk about some things that you probably hadn't thought about, and the great opportunities do you have joining the Army or just in the military in general. So we do have Staff Sergeant Zaczkowski and Staff Sergeant Laird who are going to be joining us. You'll notice Staff Sergeant Laird will join in a little bit through the interview. But sit back, relax, and let's hear about the United States Army.
I joined right out of high school. Came from a small town of Fargo, North Dakota. Joined when I was 17. Was in the delayed entry program for my entire senior year of high school. So it means I enlisted, already had my job selected, was just waiting for training after I graduated. So you have to graduate to join. So I have at least a GED, high school diploma, one of the two. But went into the airborne infantry. Did that for 7 years. During that time, I deployed to Afghanistan twice. I've been kind of all over the world with it. My first duty station was in South Korea, which was, a huge experience for me coming from North Dakota. Didn't really travel much at all. So kind of really opened my eyes up to the world, And then, I went to Fort Carson, Colorado. After that, deployed from there. And my wife out there. Then we went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then I went recruiting in Minnesota. Went back to the infantry in Alaska here, and then switched back over to recruiting again. So, and now I think I'm gonna probably stick with the recruiting thing. I got 2 younger boys and stuff like that, so I definitely want to be home more. Infantry is fun and all, but you know what I mean. So, it's definitely one of those things. The biggest thing I love about the Army, is the fact that you do get to explore and go around, and it is your choice. A lot of people think, well, when I join, I'm just going to do what they tell me to do. That's not the case at all. It's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that's out there. You do get to pick your job. You can change your job. You can continue to do more and go do other things in the Army. We're a self-sustaining force. So there are a lot of jobs out there that the Army has to offer that a lot of people just don't even realize about.
Well, awesome. So how long have you been in the Army?
Just over 10 years now. So
Okay.
I'm on my 11th year right now. Yep. Well, going towards my 11th year. So on my 10th.
Well, awesome.
So,
yeah, and I know in our student population, growing up, we had a recruiter come out to our high school and, talked to us, and then did the ASVAB and everything. But it's a little bit different, as you're aware. Kind of out here,
right.
You don't have that experience to do so. So I'm grateful that you're taking some time to meet with me and be able to help out our students who are looking to go that route. And so what are some things, I know, not necessarily prerequisites, but you talked about you need to graduate or have a DED.
Yep.
And can you give us a little bit more information on like the ASVAB, like the importance of it or what it's used for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the ASVAB is actually it's extremely important, right? It's one of the biggest first steps you take in actually joining a branch of service. So the ASVAB is good for any branch, right? All the scores they're scored a little differently, obviously, for each branch. But you need a general score of 31 on the ASVAB to be able to enlist in the United States Army. Now it's not like a percentage test, it's a percentile test. All right. So the Army kind of looks at it like you're in the 31 percentile. That's what we want in the Army, right? Nothing below that. And then obviously everything above that, we definitely want as well. Your ASVAB score goes off of like the first 5 categories on there, really just get your general knowledge on problem solving skills, right? Your English, which is your word knowledge, paragraph comprehension. Then you go into your math knowledge and your rhythmic reasoning. And then there's your general science. So these ones kind of they're the big boys, the big categories. Essentially, when it comes to the ASVAB, they're giving you mainly those ones are going to give you your qualifying score. What it's really doing is trying to see how well you can problem solve on the fly, in a lot of different categories. But then after that, it goes into, like I said, general science, electrical, mechanical, and those are the kind of things you can't study for because they're very broad. They're very general. The Army just wants to know, and every other branch just wants to know what you know already. So, like, if you're already kind of mechanically inclined, awesome. You're probably going to score really well in the mechanical section. If you got a little bit of background in electrical, then you might actually score really well. What they also want to know is, like, hey, did you, watch your dad, who was a, electrician, were you over his shoulder watching him work sometimes, and you actually picked up on a lot more than you know, right? And so the Army wants to, sometimes pin your strengths to a career in the Army. So the ASVAB is very important in the fact that it helps you choose your job, and helps the Army place you in the correct field so that you don't go into something that, one, you have no interest in learning, and two, that you're just, not very good at, right? Not saying that they won't train you to be very good in it, but at least you'll know up front what your strengths and your kind of weaknesses are, and we can kind of go from there. And then we can kind of get that set up. So, but the ASVAB is a very, very important test. So one of those ones, we could take it. There's not like a set number of times you can take it. But if you can take like a student one, or if you guys can get one set up out there to take, I know we have practice ones we can do as well. Because once you take it at MEPS, the actual military entrance processing station, let's say you don't pass, it is a 30-day wait before you can take it again.
Gotcha.
So we like to try to get those practice tests out there and stuff like that. So.
And this brings up my other thing. I know, being in one of the school counselor conference for Alaska, we had a representative. I can't remember, but I know there's a website that, I don't know if it's just strictly the Army uses to practice, like different types of subjects to help with like math and science and.
Yes, it's actually march2success.com.
March2success.
Yep. And I can definitely send you a link for that. It is great. It helps actually. It's probably one of the best tools to use for SAT and ACT prep. So I don't know if the students are looking into that or want to do it. But they do have 7 full-length test versions of each of those tests. They're all practice. They can take it 7 times, full length, everything like that, to find out what they'd score on the SATs or ACTs. And it has prep for all that. So the interesting thing is those tests are very similar to the ASVAB. So that's why we have all that on there. It has nothing to do with recruiting. So when you go on there, you can even make a profile yourself as an instructor and actually have the students, and you can actually overlook their information and see how well they're doing and what areas they need to help in. I can help you get that set up as well. But then the students can go on there. It has the Army's logo on it. Yes, the Army funds it, but it has nothing to do with recruiting for the Army. We definitely want to just help the populace, be able to pass, one, the ASVAB, and also, two, better their future with the SAT and ACTs. Because the ASVAB test is, I'll be honest with you, it's a very hard test. And we don't see always a lot of, the pass to fail rate, there's quite a difference there, but that's one of the easiest things to kind of overcome because that's just studying on your part, right? It's usually what I tell people. If they come in the office, they take a practice test, and they don't pass, I said, all right, this is your check to see how badly you want to be in the military. Because guess what? You can study for this. It's not like a medical doctor said you're disqualified. This is just saying that you need to study a little bit. Show me how much you really want to be in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Come back in a week after you study a little bit, kind of thing. So, but it does play a big role, when it comes to jobs and things like that. But we have the tools and the abilities to help you study if you're not there yet.
I think that's, a great advantage. Like you said, even if it's not for the ASVAB, the ACT, SAT options as well definitely help students that way. So, well, awesome.
Right.
Well, if I was a student looking to at least get some more information about the Army and kind of looking towards, joining, what are the steps or what are the things that I would need to do to make that happen?
So for being a student, it's going to come down to, two big things kind of up front. Your age and, obviously what grade year you're in. So if you're, the minimum is just put out there is 17 and a junior. All right. So 17 years old, juniors in high school can actually start looking into it. Now at 17, obviously you're going to need a few things, a little extra like parental consent. So mom and dad have got to be on board. All right. All of our meetings and interviews and everything like that, mom and dad will be present as a 17-year-old. We just don't, it's kind of one of my things. I do that mostly just because, hey, you're, at the end of the day, yes, this is what you're doing, but we need mom and dad's blessing for you to do it, so always like to keep them, in the loop as well. With that as well, those 17-year-old juniors, your only kind of option at the time is the Army Reserves, which is part-time, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, because you can do a split option choice, which means that you can go to basic training in between your junior year and your senior year. And you'd come back, finish your senior year, and then after your senior year, you go to your job training in the summer. So at that age, yes, you can. But then it comes into, say if you're a junior, you're 17, you just finished your junior year, going in your senior year, that's when we can start in July, is when we can start looking at going active duty and talking about, enlisting in the active duty Army, finishing out your senior year, and after graduation, you go to basic training and your job training, and you'd be complete after that. And you kind of go into the full-time Army from there. So to really get all that started, honestly, it's just kind of getting in touch with someone like myself, an Army recruiter, and kind of saying, hey, this is me in a nutshell, you know what I mean, and what I'm trying to get at, what I'm trying to do, and we will help you through all those steps. The recruiter name kind of has a bad rep these days and stuff like that. Hopefully people don't see it so much like that, but I do like to think of myself more as a facilitator, to get you into the Army, because that's really what we're here to do. My 10 years of experience in the Army is to help you have an idea what day-to-day life is like in the Army, as well as picking jobs and kind of what those job fields do. At the same time, I'm here to help you get through the paperwork, get over the test, get through MEPS and everything like that, and into the United States Army. So their big first step is just going to be reaching out. Like I said, I can give you the link. So if they do want information, I can definitely send it out for them to kind of fill it out. Come right to me. We can reach out to them individually from there.
Great. Yeah, I think that's definitely something I can do, and I can post it as well, so they can get in contact with you. So what is, you talked about kind of like the day-to-day, let's say, I am getting enlisted and, go to basic training. What's some insight onto, what basic is about?
So basic training, always, good, strong question. Basic training is 10 weeks long. Is the first thing that you will do. Basic training is there to mold you into a soldier. All right. Everybody has to be a soldier first before they can learn their job skill in the Army. Now I'm not saying it's like the Marines where everybody's an infantryman by any means. Basic training, you are learning the basic soldier skills. A lot about the Army values, and going into just basic combat situations. Just because, hey, you never know. You know what I mean? If you're going in the active duty Army, we are all over the world. At least having the basics, could turn the tide if you're ever caught in a really, really bad situation. But basic training is 10 weeks long. It's broken into 3 phases: red, white, and blue. Red phase is 3 weeks long. And that phase, you are doing a whole lot of physical work. That's the phase where it's right in the beginning. They get you in there. They find out who's physically strong and who's physically weak. They kind of get, to the point where they let you know, like, hey, you are in the Army now. All right, you're not a civilian anymore. You're working to be a soldier. You're in a group of 64 individuals. So that's your platoon, and you're going to get to know each other very well during those 2 or 3 weeks there. A red phase. You do a lot of team building, a lot of obstacle courses. Like I said before, a lot of physical work, a lot of PT and stuff like that, physical training and everything. It's to build you up and get you ready for white phase. And white phase is where you start doing a lot more of your ruck marches, and then you start going to the ranges. That during that phase, you're getting more into your soldier skills, and your basic, tasks and everything. But a lot of those 3 weeks there in white phase are marksmanship and, like I said, ruck marches and stuff. And then you get in the blue phase, and blue phase is where you bring it all in together and you go out and you play army essentially. Out there and put all the skills you've learned over the last 6 weeks into play for 2 weeks during blue phase, and then once you're done, that last week is all clean up, wash up, and graduation. So it's basic training is really only 9 weeks for us, but that's kind of the basic in a nutshell there.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. And I definitely know, I have a couple individuals in my family, National Guard and Army, and then also Air Force as well. And, they say that's, get through that. And yeah, like you said, get yourself ready and get those basic skills and kind of move on as well and take that with you to your job training.
Right.
So at that point, do you know, like going into basic training, like what your, so to say, like what your job's going to be, or afterwards, that kind of, you get put into those different jobs?
No, that's a really good question. Actually, you'll know what your job is before you even enlist. That's one of the few things the Army can actually do for you. Not a whole lot of the other branches can do. A few of them can, but the Army, we are very prideful in the fact that you will know your job when your training starts, when your training will be finished, before you actually go and raise your right hand and swear in. So we have all that stuff on black and white right up front. It's on what we call a temporary reservation, and that you actually choose that. So that's why the ASVAB is a very big step. Once we get the ASVAB done, we can actually start looking at jobs and what you qualify for and what the Army needs. And we can kind of make a list and go off that, and we can find that job. So when we select that job, we're like, hey, if you're a senior right now, and let's say you got past the ASVAB and we're getting ready to go down and do the physical, we can actually start looking at jobs and secure that job training for you up front before you go down to METS to do your physical and enlist. But with that, we'll see what job it is, if there's any bonuses or entitlements tagged to it, when it ships out, when your basic training starts, and when your job training starts, and where those locations are at. And you get it all on a nice little printed out temporary reservation to take with you. And then when you go down to MEPS, there's nothing to worry about. You already know what you're doing, what you're about to raise your hand for and swear into. It just makes it a lot smoother, a lot easier, and there's no gray area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, it's huge. I don't like to be, left in the dark, have no idea what I'm doing, or what I'm signing up for, what I'm getting myself into. So having that ability to be able to know exactly what I'm about to go do is huge, I feel like. So
awesome. So it looks like we have your boss here with us. If you want to go ahead and Mr. Laird, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Hey, sir. I'd like to. My name's Staff Sergeant Laird. I've been in the Army for 15 years now, and I'm the station commander of the South Anchorage Recruiting Station. I've been in recruiting committee for 6 years, and prior to that, I was a military police for almost 10 years. So when I joined at 17 years old, I grew up in central Pennsylvania. I chose military police. Is what I wanted to go do in. And honestly, the Army was going to be a stepping stone. It was going to be just to get out of my parents' house and pay my own bills and be my own person. And ended up being something that I really, really love. So I ended up staying in the Army, getting to travel all over the world. Been stationed in Texas, New York, Korea. Been to Europe several times. I was last in Salt Lake City, Utah. And now I got the privilege to come to this great state of Alaska.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you being on here with us. And we talked a little bit about the ASVAB and kind of, a little bit about basic training, like as you were hearing right there. And so as, recruiters or facilitators for your guys' self, what are some things that you're looking for in a possible recruit? I'm sure there's ideal candidates, but what are some things that the Army is looking for in individuals who are looking to pursue the Army?
Right. I would say always looking for, obviously very motivated individuals, people that are willing to go and looking for that change in life. They're very driven. And like I said, I guess motivated kind of is the word, but that are ready to go and kind of do it. They're looking for some adventure in their life. Maybe even to the guys who really want to tie the Army into, making their future success even better. The Army is not always about joining and doing the full 20. Sometimes people come in and they want to use it as a stepping stone. And the Army kind of really prides itself on that. Like, hey, we're going to train you. We're going to pay you to learn a technical degree, in a field that is going to help you tie it in with your college degree plan or anything like that, to better yourself for the future. So a lot of individuals that are looking for, maybe some, really deep further future success in life, and that are very committed. It's always a huge thing. I'm a firm believer, and I tell people all the time that you will get out of the Army what you put into it. If you come in and you kind of just go day by day and paycheck by paycheck, then you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. But if you go in there and apply yourself, the Army will definitely get back to you and give you the skills and the technical forms you're looking for, to better yourself above your peers. So I would definitely say that, yeah, motivated and, kind of, a little more driven individuals, or even people that might just want to try something new, are looking to kind of, go explore some things. I didn't know exactly. I did it just so I can get some money for college, back when I was 17. We didn't have the money for it. I knew college was something I needed to do. But then I kind of fell in love with it, I shouldn't say kind of. I did. I'm still in here, and wearing the uniform every day. So, but it was a new experience for me that I never knew was even possible, and the opportunities once you get in the Army are absolutely endless, and the places you can go and the things you can do and the people you meet. So it's really for everybody, I guess there can't or isn't really a specific individual we're looking for. Mostly just qualified individuals, the hardest part, so.
Yeah. And, yeah, I think that's a good point to, like you said, looking for, qualified individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for talking to individuals who have joined the military, kind of, for some, I have a friend who, went in it because he saw the signing bonus, and it took him a while to kind of get into like, oh, okay, I am part of the military now. It's much more than the signing bonus. But what
Mm-hmm.
are some of those benefits? You hit on, I know, a lot for the individuals that I know, having the
Mm-hmm.
college, the GI Bill was a big thing for them, and also, the travel, those opportunities. But what are some of the things like the Army does offer for individuals who join?
Yeah, so those are like some of the big ones. You can you also do get oh my gosh, obviously medical is fully taken care of, right? I know if you, and it's not something I thought of ever as like a high school student, is medical bills or anything like that. But obviously once you become an adult, those things do become very real. So having that taken care of, not having to worry about it, kind of, you still kind of keep that lifestyle, not having to worry too much about the medical part of it. But if you do come in, maybe, more so for like, the single individuals and stuff like that, you're obviously getting housing, in the barracks and stuff like that, which is honestly like college dorm style living and everything, with a furnished room and everything like that. And then, your meals are taken care of and provided by the chow halls. And the chow halls are not like the, 1970s movies that I know a lot of us think they might be like, where they're kind of just dropping slop on the plate and stuff. They have amazing, there's multiple choices. There's all kinds of things. It's honestly like a pick and choose, create your own meal kind of buffet style chow halls and stuff like that. So those are definitely taken care of. And I know some more on like individual jobs and stuff like that. you can get certificates of training and stuff that you'd have to pay for on the civilian side to be qualified for. Like if you became an 88 MICA, motor vehicle transportation specialist, you pretty much be qualified with your CDL. And the Army's going to pay for you to learn that skill and trait. I know if you go on like a 42 Alpha World and that's human resources, and you go for like I think it's called a Sherma test or something like that, but it's quite the test. I do know that, and especially in that human resourcing field, the Army pays for that certification as well if you try to get that while you're in and serving in that field and everything. So certifications and certificates and stuff like that. Another major perk with being part of the Army, because like I said, Army will pay for it. Even if you only do 3 years, you get those certifications, they're good. You know what I mean? You can take them and go use them on your resume and go apply for other businesses and stuff like that. So those are definitely some of the other added benefits of joining that I really didn't know about. There's full education centers on every installation now too. These education centers, they have education specialists inside of them, and a bunch of computers and classrooms and things like that, where, you know, soldiers can go in and say, hey, I'm looking at trying to get a degree in this region or accreditation, you know, in this field, you know, and this is my job in the Army and what my schedule looks like. And they will sit down with them and show them the best colleges to go to, if it's online or in classroom, and how to set all that up to work so that they, you know, can still keep their primary, you know, goal set on the Army, you know, but still be able to be knocking on college at the same time. So
awesome.
But yeah.
Staff Sergeant Laird, do you have any other, you know, insights, you know, from your experience? You know, you've been in this side of the Army for, you said, about 6 years. What are some of the things that stand out to you in terms of, you know, the benefits or, you know, the qualifications for individuals?
Is he still there?
Might be frozen.
Oh.
It's all right. Nope. It's like he got off there. But anyway,
okay.
Staff Sergeant Zaczkowski, what are maybe some of the things that you? Oh, looks like he's back here.
Okay. He might get a phone call or something. Yeah.
Well, I'll just quickly go back to you, Staff Sergeant Laird. What are some of the things that you know, you like to share out with, you know, possible recruits, or kind of the benefits that come along with joining the Army?
Okay. So I think when you ask Sergeant Zaczkowski what we're looking for in an applicant, I think definitely one of the biggest things is motivation. Some people bring it into the office and you're just a naturally motivated individual. I was not that when I joined. I was pretty timid, 17-year-old, that was a little intimidated by basic training. But it is not, some basic training is not to weed people out, or it is not tryouts for the Army. It is preparation to be a soldier. All the Army asks is that after basic training, motivation is given to you in basic training. After that, when you're a full-time soldier, it's way more of a 9-to-5 job than people think. And staying motivated, taking advantage of the college education, the benefits. You don't have to touch your Montgomery GI Bill. You can leave that till after you leave the Army. You can give it to spouses, children now. Tuition assistance, you get 16 semester hours free every single year. And too many soldiers don't take advantage of just going to college for free, because the nights and weekends are filled with, you know, however else they want to spend their paycheck. But the benefits, as far as the education, if you want to go to college, it's going to be paid for either during or after the Army. Living as a single soldier, most people join before they're married. You live in the barracks. It's like a 2-bedroom apartment. You're going to have your own room. A lot of people consider being in basic training with all the bunk beds and the big bay. That's how you're going to be in the Army. That's only in basic. You're going to have your own bedroom with your own walk-in closet where you can shut the door and have privacy wherever you're stationed around the world. Along with that, pretty much any utilities or payments that you think of in the civilian world are going to be taken care of. The Army is going to make sure that you stay medically fit, medically okay. So they're going to take care of any medical bills. If you need to go to the doctor, you go to the doctor. If you need prescriptions, you're not going to pay a dime. Same thing with dental. They like to take care of the soldiers, make sure that you're ready to go whenever the Army needs you to perform that job that you selected. If you're married, you do have kids, you're a little bit older, anyone that's legally connected to you through marriage or birth is also going to have those benefits. They're also going to be taken care of with medical and dental, housing, giving you, instead of a barracks room, a house, depending on the size of your family. That's the kind of house they're going to get. And all your bills are going to be taken care of. You just need to make sure you cut the lawn and keep it nice for when you have to give it back to the government. There are bonuses. Like you had mentioned, your friend joining and seeing that bonus and that big lump sum go into his bank account. And then he discovered, wow, I'm really in this. Being recruiters, we honestly care about the people that we put in the Army. And we are, when you sit down with us or do something over Zoom like this or on the telephone, we want to know about, a lot of people want to know, well, what do I qualify for right now? I'm more interested in knowing what you want to do. What do you plan on doing in 5 years? How can I set you up for that goal? You're going to have other branches to go along the way. You're going to have other opportunities you never even expected in the Army. There's a lot of jobs that you can't enlist into, like pilot, being an officer in the future, you know, some special operations, special forces jobs, stuff like that. But what do you want to do? And the recruiter sat down with me and I said, I wanted to be in law enforcement. Always interested me. He set me up with.
Sorry about that.
Doesn't mean that's what I had to do. I could have picked any other job and still did law enforcement on the outside by the degree I got and the Army paid for. But I wanted to go into military police, so he offered me that opportunity. So we really like to get to know the people that are joining the Army, what they want to do. And honestly, just like anyone else that's a little bit older, I know, sir, you're in education. You like to instruct people based on what you learned over the years and how you would have done it better. I have a lot of experience in the Army, and so do all my NCOs. So we tend to talk a lot about what's going to make you most successful and set you up for where you want to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years kind of deal.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, just hearing all the benefits with that, and kind of hearing the the facilitator role. How often do you guys hear back from those who you went through the process of them being recruited and enlisting? Do you hear back from them? Do they reach out to you and say, hey, this is what I'm doing right now? Do they still have that connection?
Yeah. No, you want to take? You guys, Harlan. Absolutely. I know we have recently been getting a lot back too. We encourage it. I mean, it was 10 years ago since I was in basic training, things like that too. And it always changes and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you kind of build that, that bond and everything like that. And it is kind of one of those things, that not only do we want to be looked at as facilitators, recruiters, but mentors and things like that. So it is kind of one of those things that it does feel good, when they do reach out and want to kind of keep that connection, still kind of ask you questions through the years and stuff. And it's not, totally frowned upon or anything like that. But we do hear back from our recruits, quite often and stuff like that, kind of saying, hey, thank you. This is exactly like you said. It's amazing, all these opportunities we're getting and things we're doing. Or, sometimes we might get a few of them that say it's a little different, but that's also where we like to hear back from them as well. So we do know, what I mean, as we talk to other recruits in the future too, and about how that kind of goes. I don't know if Sergeant Laird wanted to add on to that.
Yeah, so I been in recruiting for 6 years now. I talked to a lot of the people, some of the people that I put in my first year or two in recruiting, 5, 6 years ago. We love to hear from them. Sometimes people go through the process a little quicker than others, and we don't get to know them just because that opportunity they wanted was available right then and they were ready to go. Other times people are in high school, and like me, I enlisted in my senior year, And I had my whole senior year to spend with my recruiter, going to the recruiting station sometimes or talking with him once a week. I definitely, I wasn't as close to my recruiter as I wish I was to gain some advice. People that are in recruiting are some of the best in their career field. They do not send the worst at all in the Army, or I won't only say there's the worst in the Army, but they definitely send the high speed people out to recruiting to show the public what a career in the Army or an opportunity in the Army can be. So there's a lot of recruits that while they're going through the process, while they're waiting to ship, all the communication, I have a government cell phone, that's what you're texting and calling, and government email. But many of people I've gotten close with, they'll come back from training, they'll say hi to me, I'll give them my personal cell phone because they're going to be in the Army, and the Army is one big family. And regardless of our career fields, whether you go into military police or something else, a lot of it's the same. And having that outside resource to reach out to, not wanting to ask your leadership a question you might think might be the wrong question or not a smart question, and be able to reach out to somebody that had that experience before outside your chain of command, it can really help sometimes.
Yeah, well, thank you. Kind of shedding that light and just hearing I think often, probably for a lot of it, like civilians, you think of like military itself and, kind of like get the perception of kind of the outside of being cold or, stand backish, but to hear kind of the family aspect, like you said, Sergeant Laird, on, kind of the unity and the family kind of bringing it definitely probably helps out, from recruits who are thinking about it to see that this is more just kind of, you're humans and kind of want to see the best for everyone. So, I had a thought, well, like, talking about like recruits or those who are looking to enlist, what are like the physical requirements? What is kind of like the minimum things that they need to be doing physically to get the best out of, their time at, basic as they're starting out?
So physically, that's always, a big one that everybody, you always get the, well, I don't think I'm physically fit or ready to go a lot of the times, and that's fully understandable. But honestly, the physical aspect, one, we do have, like what we do a future soldier training. So even if they're in the process of trying to get to that level and everything, we do future soldier training. And if they can't get actually to our office and stuff like that, we can send them out, kind of some physical training and things they can do on their own. But as the Army's progressing and changing, so is our PT tests and everything like that. The biggest things they need to worry about coming in is an OPAT test, the Occupational Physical Assessment Test. Excuse me. It's a test that they take to kind of make sure that they can meet the physical demands of the job they're enlisting in. It's nothing crazy or anything like that. It has 4 events in it. It's a deadlift, a standing long jump, a seated ball throw, and then a pacer test, which kind of shuttle sprint test. And like nothing's like way out there, totally unachievable by any means. Like I said, it's just really to see if they can meet the physical demands of the job field they're about to go into. And if not, then we know we need to help work with them on and then get them to that level so they are ready.
Great. Yeah. That's, good to hear that, you can get there if you're not quite there and going from that as well. So as kind of wrapping up, what are some other questions, you guys get all the time from, students or parents who are, have an individual who are looking to enlist in the Army?
I know. I'm sure we both. I've been in recruiting now for about 5 years, and Sergeant Laird, I know he's like 6 or 7 now. So, I'm sure we can write, a whole question and answer booklet. You know what I mean? On all the ones we do get, we kind of really went over a lot of the big ones. A lot of people ask us a lot about jobs as well. And careers in the Army and everything like that. That one, it's really hard to nail down. Like I said, like we talked about earlier with the ASVAB, was usually a big telltale sign for us on what kind of jobs you qualify for. That's the biggest thing I always say. If you're looking into a specific career field, that's what we're here for, is to help you try to get to that field. You know what I mean? But sometimes the Army's just not always looking for that. You know, so it's kind of like those things like facilitating in that aspect of finding the best option for you if your number one choice isn't always there. You know, a lot of people think that they have to, like you said, with the physical part, be physically fit and ready to rock and roll before they go to basic training. Like we kind of went over, you know, and basic training is there to really build that physical aspect of you as well. I know, Starlin, look like you got one you want to add in there? Or?
Yeah, sure. So I know one that we don't get as much anymore, but we used to get a whole lot, and it's depending upon. I joined the Army in 2000, signed up in 2003, and shipped out in 2004. And it was a little bit different experience in the world back then and what was going on. So over the years, we got a lot of questions about being away from home or deployment, stuff like that. So it's not as big of a deal anymore based on the amount of people that are over there. And usually when we talk about deployments, people indicate Iraq or Afghanistan. I've been to both. I didn't join the Army to go there. Nobody joins the Army to go there. But the reason people want to shake your hand as a soldier, or regardless of what you do in the Army, want to acknowledge your service is because you're signing up and you're understanding that there is possibility. That's why the Army exists. There's a lot of reasons why the Army exists. Humanitarian missions, combating certain things with the population like this COVID-19 situation we got going on now, research, development, but also to protect and defend the country and the citizens of the country, whether it be here in the U.S. or abroad and some of our partner nations. I get people sometimes that come in the office over the last 6 years and they say, I want to join the Army because that's what I want to do. Watch a lot of news, play a lot of video games, and that's why I want to join the Army. And I got other people that if you look at all the benefits and what you're going to get out of it, yeah, you're going to run a bunch of miles and you're going to do push-ups and sit-ups. But at the end of the day, what you're putting into it, you're getting a lot of benefits, a lot of college education stuff out. But then they say, well, you have to guarantee me I'm not going to have to ever go overseas or do anything. I can't tell the future. And honestly, I don't believe that either one is a really good sentiment to have when you're joining the Army. Nobody joins to go do that, or you shouldn't. You join for you, what you want, and then also what you're going to do for the people in the country. So do people deploy? Absolutely. Right now, the active duty Army is about 472,000 soldiers. Over there in Iraq and Afghanistan combined, probably about 20,000 overall troops, not even just soldiers, but you got Marines and Navy and everybody over there. So it's not a high population, but when I joined, it was kicking off big time with the people that joined in 2000 before anything happened. A lot of the people that are joining now weren't even alive back then, but they joined the Army to join the Army, and then something happened that the nation called upon them. So it does happen. You shouldn't count on it. You shouldn't join the Army just because that's what you want to do. You should keep your personal goals and focus on what you want to do. And as a soldier, stay motivated to achieve those goals. Also, a big thing is when you join the Army, your job is guaranteed. Some people ask us, well, where can I get stationed? Is that guaranteed? No, it's not. We do ask you what your preferences are. You list your overseas preferences, your in the U.S. preferences, and the Army does look at it. A lot of people pick Hawaii as their number one choice. We only need so many people in Hawaii. And the longer you stay in the Army, it is a give and take. Some places I've gone, I ended up loving. I did not want to go there. One place being Korea. Fought against it. Didn't want to go over to Korea. Ended up loving it. Almost stayed a second year. But it's kind of a give and take kind of thing. And be flexible. You're going to get to travel the world and see a bunch of different stuff. So be flexible. Some places you like more than others, and stay in the places you like as long as you can. Just keep asking the Army to do that, and eventually you'll get other places too. But wherever you go, you're going to do your job. A lot of people say, well, you're going to sign up and do that, and you're going to do something different. The Army trains you to do a job. If you end up deployed somewhere and you're human resources, you're going to be human resources. You don't all of a sudden turn into Sergeant Zaczkowski in infantry and kicking down doors. They deployed you over there. They sent you over there because they need somebody qualified in that job that you're going to do.
And will say too, one last one. I know that they always ask as well is the pay. You do get paid while you're in basic training and in your job training. Your pay starts the minute you get on the plane and head off to training. So I know a lot of people ask me that. They're like, well, what am I going to do and how am I going to pay for, like, my rent or bills or things like that? But you do get paid while you're at training. So I know that's another huge one as well.
Yeah, and what's the the initial commitment? When you first sign up, kind of how many years are you committed?
So the initial commitment, pretty standard. It's three years. A federal active service. It's 6 for the Army Reserves, but that's a little bit different. That's part-time work. So in those 6 years, you really only you put the uniform on 38 days a year. So you kind of do the math on that. You don't even really, depending on what you do and things like that. If you just do the basics for the reserves, it's a 6-year contract with that. But the active duty, the minimum contract's 3. We always don't highly encourage. You can go over that. You can do 4 and 6-year contracts as well. But it's always good to just kind of get your taste of the Army at first. Those 3 years are going to go extremely fast. And before you know it, they're going to be asking if you want to re-enlist, change your job. If you want to go in the Army Reserves or what your plans are. So, but the initial contract's typically 3 years.
There's a lot of what determines your initial contract is the job you choose. So when you sit down before you enlist and you pick that job, depending on what you qualify for and what the Army needs, there are certain jobs that require a longer contract. You'll see that with aviation, some medical jobs. They're usually the jobs that people tend to leave the Army and go into the civilian world. Some of the skills that pay very well in the civilian world. We all get paid the same as a soldier, depending on your rank and your time in service. And the more you put in, the faster you get ranked. The first 4 in the Army are guaranteed. You automatically get paid E4 or the rank of specialist at 2 years. You can get them a little bit quicker. After that, they're leadership positions, totally based on merit, everything. But certain, like military police, my contract is 5 years long, but the majority of all the 150 jobs are either 3 or 4 years long.
Well, thank you, Staff Sergeant Laird and Zaczkowski. And just kind of wrapping up here. You guys have any final words or you want to say to those who are looking to join?
If you want to go, Sergeant Laird, you can.
Okay. I think this is primarily going out to the schools in Lake and Peninsula. Unfortunately, this is a very unique situation we have here in Alaska, and I wish we could always have the opportunity to go out to these schools all the time like we do some of the local schools here in Anchorage or other places I've recruited. I want the population out there. We get out to some of the villages or some of the smaller cities as much as we can, but to know that we're always here to answer any questions. Picking up the phone does not mean that you have to join the Army. Just like if you're local here in Anchorage or you happen to be here for some reason, stopping by the office and wanting to talk about some of the options doesn't mean that you're committed. I don't have a bus out back that I'm going to throw you on. Just talking about your options, and the earlier that you want to do it, even though you might be a junior, a senior, or even earlier than that, to have a conversation with you and your parents about what you want to do and how you might best prepare for that in the future. We'd always be willing to do that and take any calls that you have.
And I would just say before, partying and everything like that is it can be a very big and scary thing. Change is never a thing that's taken lightly. But that's my biggest thing is don't be afraid of the change. And nothing's guaranteed until you decide, in a sense, you say, yes, this is what I want to do. So don't be afraid to ask questions. We're always here. We're always here to answer questions. It can always be intimidating talking to, a recruiter and stuff like that, but we don't want you to feel that way. We want to feel like, you can ask us any question in the world. I always say, the dumbest question that asked is the one, or the dumbest question is the one not asked, because it's the honest truth. Don't be afraid to ask questions. that's what we're here for, and that's what we want to kind of make that feeling of, hey, well, I was wondering about this, but, I don't think it's possible, so I'm just not going to do it. Don't be that guy a gal that does that when you could be completely, wholly 100% qualified and ready to go and stuff like that, but you didn't want to ask the question or thought maybe you couldn't do it and miss out on an amazing opportunity. So that would be my biggest one before kind of parting. Just don't be afraid to ask, or check it out. So.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate both of you, Sergeant Laird and Sergeant Zaczkowski, taking this time and, kind of speaking with me and, for our students and, here out in Lake and Penn. I know y'all definitely put that link there for our students to be able to reach out to you if they have any further questions or kind of want to start that process. But again, thank you for your service and all that you do for us, and appreciate you being able to be part of this virtual career fair.
No, absolutely. We appreciate it. It is a great honor and a privilege. I was really looking forward to coming on there and meeting all of you. With obviously the current situation, we're making it work like this. And this is just kind of one of the ways we have to do it. It's totally fine. I'm still excited to meet all of you if I get the opportunity to. But no, thank you very much for the opportunity, like I said. And I just hope you guys all stay safe out there, and soon we'll be able to meet each other face to face.
Roger. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thanks. You guys have a great one. There you have it. I'm just grateful for Sergeant Zaczkowski and Sergeant Laird to being able to field some of those questions for us. And so great opportunities and great information about ASVAB, and then also, march2success.com. You heard it from Sergeant Zaczkowski, where it talks about they are 7 full-on ACT, SAT test preps right there on march2success.com. And I will post a link to the questionnaire form that Sergeant Zaczkowski talked about, where it's strictly just going to their recruiting office. The information is not going to be solicited to anyone else, but just another way how they can contact you and what you're interested in. So follow that link. If you have any more questions, feel free to contact me and I can get you set up with Sergeant Zaczkowski or Sergeant Laird. All right, episode 7 coming up. Be on the lookout.